Englentine here, and there's a movie I like. It's called Broadcast News. Albert Brooks, a long time ago. No, not Albert Brooks, but James L. Brooks. But anyway, there's a line in there where a guy asks a girl, his boss, he says, "Well, you must hate it when you're always right." And she goes, "No, it's awful." There's a joke I tell also where I say Englentine and the words "are wrong" are never used in the same sentence because I'm constantly being proven right. Well, at the beginning of 2018, I did a video because DC had a summit. They had kind of a convention, and the entire point of the convention was to bring up identity politics. That was it. That's all they did. That was the whole thing, was they were bringing up identity politics in the comic books, in the TV shows, how they're going to go forward with it. I'm against identity politics. I think it's very racist, very homophobic, very sexist, because it whittles everybody down to a demographic rather than treating people like a real person, like a three-dimensional person with feelings, hopes, dreams, this whole nine yards. You are just a race, or you're a gender, or it boils down to whom you choose to sleep with. So I'm not a big fan of identity politics for a lot of the reasons they say I'm against them. I just think it's bigotry in motion. But one of the things I said was DC is going to go the same route as Marvel Comics. You're going to see it in 2018, but it's going to get worse in 2019. And it looks like I'm right. What I should have said, however, and it's going to get even worse than that, because DC Comics rumored to replace all their main superheroes with new versions. Now, it says rumor. So that means let's take this with a grain of salt. That's the main thing we have to focus on. It says rumor, okay? But I knew something like this was going to happen. Anyway, but here's the thing. This is not the first time we've seen DC Comics do this, okay? In the 90s, they replaced Superman with Steel, the Eradicator with Cyborg, Superman, Superboy. Then, of course, they made them electric blue and red. Wonder Woman was Artemis. Batman was taken over by I keep wanting to say Anarchy, but it wasn't him. I know. Goodness gracious, it's in my head. John St. Paul appeared, whatever his name is. Gosh, I hate it when that's the one I always forget the name of, and it's the one that lasted the longest because I actually like the Nightfall storyline. So right now I know there's about 100 people going to the keyboard. Hey, it was John Paul Valley, and his name was... There you go. That's my memory at work, guys. Point being is they changed a whole bunch of DC characters. Frankly, Kyle Rayner was my favorite. He's the one that lasted 10 years, and I would not have changed him. I kind of dug it. But that's just me. And heck, we had Wally West. We had Wally West 10 years prior to that. So this isn't unprecedented. It really isn't. Even in the 2000s, you had Batwoman go from not being a lesbian to being a lesbian. You had Blue Beetle go from being a white guy to a Hispanic teenager. This is not unprecedented for DC Comics. So I'm not in full-on panic mode just yet, except there's a problem. This is the big problem, and this is what can send us into big panic mode. Those were different times, and those were different politics. It was more accepted to be anything back then. These days, you can only have one political mindset. If you disagree with any of it, if you question just a little bit, you are the hated Germans. You are you are a person who hates somebody of a different color. You are not just somebody who doesn't like the writing of a comic book. you can't dislike Ironheart without disliking black women in today's politics, and that's where the big difference is lying. Let's see. DC will reportedly launch a publishing initiative in the coming year that will see many of its classic heroes replaced by next-gen successors, according to a report at Bleeding Cool. Okay, I should have gone straight to Bleeding Cool on this one. I'm sorry. Oh, well, they're talking about the 5G thing. I do want to go over the new timeline. It's something that several geek news outlets have been hearing rumbles for months. Bleeding Cool has written about it more than once. The Beat suggests that they have been tracking blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll see. The 5G is almost certainly a reference to the 5th generation of DC heroes. Now, see, I'm a little bit weird when I was reading it first. And like I said, I want to go over the timeline at some point anyway. But I thought it was like, okay, 1st generation's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, 2nd generation Teen Titans, 3rd generation would be like I guess the Tim Drakes, Kyle Rayner, and then the 4th generation would be Tim Drake, not Tim Drake, but Damian Wayne. You know, and that's where we would be on. You know, you could use Robins. That's basically what I'm using. But yeah, it's so I don't know. It just seems, well, I guess that would be a 5th generation if you use the Robins as an indicator. But in all honesty, Dick Grayson is 1st generation in my opinion. He's 1 year down, but I guess you could consider him 2nd. Then I guess I don't know, making 5. Point being is I'm rambling. Anyway, 3rd generation would be from Crisis on Infinite Earths until Flashpoint. 4th is current crop of books post New 52. And the 5th, well, it seems that DC's heroes will cede their roles to younger heroes. So are they going to be releasing these all at the same time is what I'm wondering. Let's see. Bleeding Cool suggested Luke Fox will take over Batman. We've heard this already. Seems like a more seemingly obvious candidate, like one of the Robins or Nightwing's other characters, like Jonathan Kent, Superman's son, and the Superboy Brian Michael Bendis' Legion. Okay, Casey Sandsmark for Young Wonder Girl. Seems like obvious choices, but well, as we said about obvious ones above, that doesn't mean much. Yeah, unfortunately, that could be a problem. Because, I mean, you know, you got history, and it seems like that today's writers just do not understand the history. I'm wondering how much of it is because they seem to come from outside. And we've had writers come from outside and write some great books, don't get me wrong, but they've also respected the history. This seems like, oh, I want to destroy the history. Or it's like I said, it's always deconstruction. What you know about them is wrong. Well, you know what? We've been learning about them forever and a day. I myself for over 40 years. There have been people who've been reading them longer than I have, and there have been people who jumped on and are wondering what's happening to these people that they came in. I've met a couple, though, that came in during New 52 and just like things the way it is. So it does have its fans. Let's see. This all feels a bit about like the 90s when DC replaced Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Okay, yeah, they're going over that as well with young, new versions, of course, especially with the first rumored change being a person of color. Fans will likely compare it to the Marvel Now initiative. Exactly, yes. Yeah, it's the forced rather than bringing on. Now, the big problem with bringing Luke Fox in is he's his own identity now. It's the same thing I have with the Falcon. You know, it's one thing for Dick Grayson to take over Batman because he's been there since the beginning. That seems to be the way it should be. But for somebody who was never even in the running to jump in, it's like you're giving up your own identity to become somebody you're not. One of the reasons why I'm always against the Falcon cap is because I think he had created his own identity. Marvel created him to have his own identity, and it's a step backwards for the Falcon, in my opinion. Such a move helps sidestep a key problem with the comics market that many readers will not try a new, unproven property, but will buy books they have years investment in. Yeah, that's part of the reason why Ironheart was in Iron Man for a long time. Give them their own identity. Give it a try. Good books are going to do well. Another thing is lower the freaking price. Let's see, this has meant that it's hard for Marvel and DC to introduce entirely new characters, and some fans who are critical of introducing a more diverse cast of characters into superhero comics will claim that their real complaint isn't with the diversity itself. Okay, so right now they're already setting up the argument that if you don't like these characters, you're a racist. And that, I think, is horrible, because what it is, and I've seen a lot of people on the pro-identity politics. I've seen a lot of people on the anti-identity politics do this. They will create a motivation for you so they can argue it. They don't have a real argument, so they create one. They say, well, you're only doing this because you don't know my mind. And unless you hear me say those words, you're making it all up. And it's false. It's fake. It's bullcrap. So right now they're doing, they're setting it up. Let's see. The real complaint is diversity attaching new characters to existing brands. It's a real case of do what I say, not what I do. And if building a temporary story around replacement heroes and promising a return of the originals is the way to do it, then it's hard to criticize that logic. Yes, it is. It's actually easy to criticize it. You know what? I bought America. I did. All the issues. Diverse hero, as they say. I don't see diversity in just being Spanish. Sorry, or Latinx or Latino or whatever they're calling it these days. There's no diversity in just being what you are, by the way. Diversity is when you have many different, not just, hey, they're not white. Let's see, word on the street is 5G will launch next summer and presumably roll through DC's line. Okay, and then they've got their little thing. So I guess that's all I got to say on this. We've seen it before. I don't see anything like this lasting. If I were them, I would do I would do it next to thing. You know, if it's going to be the future, then by all means, yeah, put it out. Let's see what you got, but make it like DC 2099. Make it some DC 1 million or something like that. You know, where it's its own line, and let's see what you've got. I would be all for it. Let's see what you got. But flat out getting rid of the classic for this, then yeah, you're just doing all new Marvel. We've seen it. We've seen how it goes. It's not good. You write caricatures instead of characters. Nothing new under the sun here, ladies and gentlemen. We've been here, done that with the replacements in the 90s. Dan Didio, you should quit. You should let DC hopefully fall into the hands of somebody who actually cares anymore. To save the comic book industry. The comic book industry is going to be fine. It's going to change. That's the big problem. And like I said, and I've said this many times, it might be changing in a way that people like myself, old farts like myself, don't like it, but it ain't going to go away. It's not dying. It's changing. And it might be in a way we don't like, but it's still going to be around in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, that's my opinion on this whole kit and caboodle. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and of course that notification bell, man. You got to make sure that it's all on and you're ringing that bell. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, because this is the way we're trying to make a living and it's getting harder and harder, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi and drop $1 in the tip jar, or you can commission a video. A lot of people have done that, and it's been pretty interesting where we're going. Next video I'm doing is Danny Ketch, really that good? And then I've got stuff like the origin of Bob, the Hydra agent. Is Green Arrow longbow hunters really that good? A lot of good stuff coming up. So you can pick a topic, pick a subject, and I'll get that video out to you ASAP. Like, thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.